The maps didn't even take that long to do. What was funny though is going through like being like, okay, who is here right now? Let me open up my Game of Thrones folder of characters. Nope, he's dead. Nope, he's dead. Nope, he's dead. Everyone, this is the House Frey folder, so everyone in that folder is dead.
Yeah. Just delete that off your hard drive.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of happy endings in Game of Thrones.
No. Not really at all. Also depends on how you define happy endings. Because there are a surprising number of those.
Giggity.
Yeah. All right, I think we are ready to go.
All right.
Let's go. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast, our weekly adventure into the things that are happening in the nerd world, specifically Star Wars, but other things as well. And there is a little bit of Star Wars news today.
There's some very exciting Star Wars.
Yeah. Agatha All Along had its 2-episode finale this last week, and it was a lot of fun. We're going to talk a lot about that. And then we'll talk about the Penguin a little bit,
where the stakes are rising a little bit.
I think next week's the finale.
Probably. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
By the way,
that makes sense.
Random Star Wars news that didn't make it onto our rundown.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, according to George Lucas, he had the roles of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi flipped in episode 1.
Really?
The younger character was going to be Qui-Gon Jinn. The older character was going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to die at the hands of Darth Maul. And then on his deathbed telling Qui-Gon Jinn to train the boy. And then Qui-Gon Jinn will have taken the name Obi-Wan Kenobi and his mission to train the boy. And he was doing it this way apparently so that it made more sense in episode 4 when he says Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's not a name I've heard in a long time or whatever, because it was not actually his name or whatever. Yeah. Convoluted and stupid.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be way more confusing than it needed to be.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a new Star Wars show like in a couple weeks or in a few weeks. It's the day before my birthday, which I think is really exciting. But before we get into all that bullshit, if you could go give us a like on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, Twitch, join us on Discord, and then after this at 7, we are at long last finishing our Buzz Recap series for Game of Thrones. We're doing season 8.
The haters said it could never happen.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it. And for better or for worse,
it will at least be over.
Yeah, and then regardless of how you feel about the show and its final seasons, it will be done, and
it came to a conclusion. And
we will be buzzed a little bit by the end, probably. So join us for that. And then, of course, as we go along, please feel free to say hi in the comments. We'll try to keep an eye on those and say hi back. And then, like the podcast version of this will be out in a few days. Depends on. I have a sick dog right now. It's kind of like putting a crimp on my work. But okay, so start with big Star Wars news.
Okay,
which it's actually not that big, but
it was exciting.
It was exciting. There's a new Star Wars Skeleton Crew trailer.
Yep, like
a 2-minute trailer. A lot of new footage.
Mm-hmm.
The way that these ordinarily go is
they show you like the first half of the season.
Well, not even that much. I feel like it's they show you most of it is from like the first episode or two, and this is a 2-episode premiere, right?
I think so.
Which is their way of being like, oh, you get a whole hour of TV, and it's like, well, it's because you're giving us 2 episodes. Why don't we make every episode kind of long, and then we can just enjoy Star Wars for longer? And it really does just look like Goonies in space.
Between like the visuals and the soundtrack they chose for this trailer.
Yeah, it was goofy.
They are really nailing the 80s aesthetic.
Yeah. I'm sure there are people that will be turned off by this, but Star Wars is one of those things where, like, of course there would be in a galaxy of trillions of sentient beings all working together, to form a society or whatever.
With real life space magic.
Yeah. Having a rando Chicagoland suburb somewhere, like, that makes sense. That's why when they have singing lesbian witches, I'm just like, all right. That's probably the least weird thing that probably happens on any given day in the Star Wars universe. So there's a kid cast, and what they've all got their like archetype, right? So, like, there's the girl that's kind of the badass, and then there's the girl that's the nerd, and then there's like there's
the alien kid,
right? Who is not the same species as Max Rebo, by the way, because Max Rebo does things with his feet, and like that species propels through space differently.
Okay.
They run on their arms. Yeah, it's very strange.
Weird.
Yeah, and they play piano with their toes. And then there's like the boy who it's just like Stranger Things or like It, like the newer version of It. And then they find a ship.
Yeah, like the kid gets in trouble at school because he was finding this weird spaceship or something.
Yeah.
And his dad says, "That's not cool.
Yeah.
We do not find spaceships in this family."
The way these stories usually go, by the way, if you're gonna make a connection from this to like Stranger Things and the Goonies, they all probably have some kind of family trouble. So like his parents are probably getting a divorce or something, which is like really typical of movies like this, which causes them to kind of want to leave anyway. And it looks like they're gonna find this fucking like new or like old Republic age ship, and it's just gonna jump to light speed. And who the fuck knows where it takes them. And they go on a little adventure.
Den of scum and villainy somewhere in space.
A bunch of fucking kids show up. Yeah.
Someone tries to light them on fire, and Jude Law shows up and says, "No, actually, you shouldn't set them on fire. Here, come with me. I'll save you."
He seems a little sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading things about this a while ago about how Jude Law is like a Jedi who survived Order 66 or something. And I'm not sure how accurate that is, but he seems to me to be a little morally gray, probably, especially if he's hanging out in a place like that. We know that the some of the pirates from Mando season 3, or at least one of them, is gonna make an appearance at some point, and there's like a droid character too that seemed kind of neat.
All right.
Yeah. So we don't have to wait very long for this. It comes out on December 3rd, day before my birthday.
That's about 4 weeks.
Yeah. So we will be covering it week by week when it gets here. So make sure you join us for that when it happens. It'll be fun. And the MCU put out like a little
they had this like
sizzle.
It felt like a 3-4 minute trailer of just all the shit they're putting on Disney Plus next year, which is a fuck ton.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming to Disney Plus on November 12th, which is pretty. I feel like the space between. I remember when I went to go see Star Wars Episode 2 in theaters. We had to wait like 6 months for that motherfucker to go out on VHS and DVD. Yeah, that was like that last movie that went out on both.
Yeah, that was the.
I know because I had both of them. I wanted the DVD because I had all the special features on it. Like they're turning shit like that around faster and faster. So like this movie just came out like last month or like the month before or something.
I want to say it was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, coming to Disney Plus.
It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Marvel What If is happening in December. I forgot that there was another one coming up.
Yeah,
I guess.
Me too.
So that's gonna be December 22nd.
I mean, What If is always a good time. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Coming on January 29th, a 3D cel-shaded animated non-canon series exploring Spider-Man's origin. Daredevil Born Again, featuring Matt Murdock as Daredevil, and then or not Matt Murdock, Charlie. What the fuck his name is? Playing Matt Murdock, and then the other guy playing Wilson Fisk.
Yep.
From Echo, which was, by the way, after we do this episode today, next week we'll do a similar thing where we rank all the MCU shows so far, because we haven't done that yet, and I forgot there are like some
There's a lot of them, and some of them are not great.
Yeah, and I remember liking Echo. I remember liking Hawkeye.
Hawkeye was genuinely good.
Yeah, and I like
that might be our hot take for the day. Hawkeye was genuinely good.
It was kind of a fun Christmas kind of thing. But then you have like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is like
there was potential there, but COVID just fucked it completely.
Ironheart, June 24th, featuring Riri Williams, who is
Rai, I think.
It's not Riri?
I'm pretty sure it's Rai.
I think it's Riri, actually.
I might be wrong.
I don't know, but anyway, she was introduced in Wakanda Forever, an MIT student who's Tony Stark, pretty much.
Basically, yeah.
Got a cool fucking suit.
Apparently, she has to do some sketchy criminal shit to actually make her suit now. So
yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Eyes of Wakanda.
Who among us didn't do some sketchy criminal shit?
In college. You and I broke into a pool.
That was after.
Oh, that was after college. We should have known better, actually. Now that I think about it.
We had degrees and everything.
Yeah. Eyes of Wakanda, which will be a 4-part animated anthology highlighting historical stories within Wakanda.
Okay.
And then Marvel Zombies, which is just an offshoot of Marvel What If.
What if Ifer?
Yeah. Essentially, I think that like they did What If Marvel Zombies, right? And then everyone was like, that was pretty cool. And then they're like, all right,
we'll have more zombies.
Yeah. And then Wonder Man, which is coming in, I think, December 2025.
Yeah, late next year.
Which I think is going to be a film. I can't remember.
I think it's a series.
It might be. Yeah.
But it's a comedy about a stuntman who finds out he has superpowers, from what I gather.
Which, I mean, again, in the Marvel universe, I guess that's one of the more...
That's just a thing that can happen.
Yeah. Chris says, may the force be with you, Daniel. Chris, I hope you are both having a good night. I'm excited for Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Me too. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it looks like it's a fucking kid show. And it's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yes, that is what Star Wars is.
I still like,
it's entertainment for children.
It's like Goonies is a movie more or less for, kids. It's fucking Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
I guess not all of his movies are. He did Jaws.
Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Not really a kid's movie.
I was not supposed to be allowed to watch that, and then someone showed it to me anyway. And then I went through a dinosaur phase there for a while.
I think every kid goes through a dinosaur phase.
I was it was specifically a Jurassic Park dinosaur phase, and I had all the fucking toys, and I thought they were the coolest thing in the world, and I knew all the dinosaur names. I don't think I remember any of them now. And my favorite dinosaur was the one with the dome skull that runs into things. The Pachasaurus or something.
Something like that.
I thought that was just the coolest shit in the world. And I thought T-Rex is pretty cool too.
Also, we collectively, humanity, have found out more about dinosaurs since then, and it turns out they probably didn't look like that. Like, they probably had feathers.
They lampshade that because there are like 20 of these motherfucking movies now. They're doing another one too. But they lampshade that a little bit by saying, oh, well, we know that like they don't look like this, but we wanted to make them scarier and stranger, so they make better park attractions or whatever. It took them several movies to be like, oh yeah, we understand that in real life raptors are the size of chickens, and we've made them as tall as humans. And the movie, the third Jurassic Park movie, which I saw in theaters with my grandmother, Alan Grant makes the argument that if the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs hadn't happened, that the velociraptor would be the dominant species on Earth over humans, because they were so smart and everything, which wasn't actually the case in real life. That was just like in that universe, I guess.
Yeah.
How did we get on Jurassic Park again?
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. Yeah, he also did Hook or Jaws, which was not a kid's movie, but then Hook.
Hook, which definitely is.
Speaking of Steven Spielberg, another thing we're going to talk about next week is I didn't have time to watch it, but the music by John Williams documentary came out yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit next week as well. All right, let's talk about Agatha All Along.
Oh man,
which was a 2-part finale for the series, I think.
Yeah.
The way they ended it, I'm pretty sure that this is meant to spin
it
ball
is going
into
to
something
continue
else.
on because it's the MCU and everything connects to everything else.
But specifically, I don't think that this is like, I don't think we're going to see an Agatha All Along season 2. No. It'll be like Billy Maximoff or something.
Yeah. Also, as long as we haven't gone full spoilers yet, this show should be like required reading for how to stick a landing. Like they started off really strong, had a couple maybe weaker episodes in the middle.
Expository episodes. Yeah,
fantastic finale. A weird, like the final episode spent most of its time expositing. Yeah. And it was gripping. I was right there with it.
Yes. And so I've got one major gripe with this show. Okay. I am really tired. And this is you can tell that this is a formula at Disney Plus, and it isn't just MCU shows that do it. They have a certain formula for how the show is going to go, like formulaically, right? Yeah. And in the MCU, it's always last episode, shooty laser fists. Yeah. And it's like, I'm tired of shooty laser fists. Yeah. And if you're going to do a show about magic, it actually would have been cooler if you would have went Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, crazy music notes, magic bullshit, and instead they did shooty laser fists.
I feel like they kind of lampshade it because the way they shoot and show that scene.
I don't give a fuck how they try to it's shooty laser fists, and it's
pretty much
If it's not that, then it's a giant alligator shooting a laser into the sky in Moon Knight or something, and it gets kind of boring. I understand why they do it because it's very cheap to do so. And they don't have to figure out these big visual set pieces that will blow your mind, like Doctor Strange and shit.
And if you don't watch everything, then shooty laser fists.
Right. Yeah, that's the kind of audience they have to deal with
Sparkly.
too.
It appeals to the lizard brain.
The thing is that this is the same magic that exists in the same world as Doctor Strange's crazy shit in the movies. So you go and watch a Doctor Strange movie, even if you didn't love Multiverse of Madness. They did some really inventive shit with magic in that movie, and I wish it had been more like that.
I wonder how much of this is different magical traditions, like Strange being the Sorcerer Supreme, pedagogically descended from Tibetan monks and stuff.
Being classically trained.
Yeah. Classically trained versus the witches who are more like folk musicians, maybe
like hedge witches. Yeah,
they pass on a lot of it via word of mouth and oral tradition. Although they also all speak Latin for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all kind of speak Latin in some way.
I guess
we all our language, everyone's language, more or less, unless you live, somewhere.
Unless you're not descended from Western Europe,
right?
Yeah,
us white people.
Yeah. But that difference in tradition and how they approach magic, I think, influences so of course Strange has all the fancy throwing music notes at you and warping reality and shit, while the witches are just kind of let me just shoot sparklies at you.
Yeah.
Or make potions out of literal Eye of Newt.
Right. I feel like that was better magic than the laser shooty, shooty laser fist, which is fine. I'm over it. The thing that surprised me was that set piece didn't happen in the final episode of the season. Like you said, they break the mold that way, and the final episode is entirely different. And I was like, thank you. That was nice. That was pretty cool. That was
it's
it's nice and unexpected. Okay. So we're gonna spoil this now. This will be Follow Me, My Friend, Till Glory at the End, and then the series finale, or season finale. Assume series finale. Maiden Mother Crone. And so before this was
Patti LuPone's heroic sacrifice.
Yes, and
she reads the future. She tells everyone these little tidbits, and then fucking flips the tower over and falls on the swords.
I saw a video. Someone compared that to another Disney Plus moment. Oh, it was Loki.
Oh,
it was Loki at the end of season 2, sitting on his Loki throne.
Oh yeah,
and they're very similar feeling moments. And it's like, yeah, that,
A little bit, yeah.
So they make it out of that,
so
that thing alive.
Billy and Jen are kind of freaking out, like, holy shit.
Well, hold on. The episode opens with Alice waking up.
Oh, yeah.
And then looking down at her dead body and being like, I have abs.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I'm very dehydrated. I don't understand what's happening.
They do some really cool... They do a really cool camera shot where, like, it starts on one side of her and slowly pans up. And, like, you see this hand with long fingernails brushing against her face. And then it ends up, like, on the other side of her looking upside down because the camera never turned in all that time.
Yeah.
Which gets a very disturbed, weird...
Disoriented
vibe.
kind of a thing, yeah. And... So this fly is like harassing me, and I saw it harassing you earlier, and I don't know what to do about it.
We'll do it live.
I have a lightsaber over there. I could try to swing at it, I guess. Maybe if I just leave him alone, he'll be my friend.
That seems unlikely.
If you're watching the stream, put some. Well, don't bother him.
I'm just pointing it out so that the people at home can see.
Give us some fly name ideas in the comments. So anyway.
So
she encounters death.
Yeah,
and it's
Rio.
Yeah, it's Rio. Rio Grande, April Ludgate.
Alice is like, "Shit, you mean I'm actually dead now?" And Rio's like, "Yep,
yeah,
right
so sorry." And I like how because there for a second I was like, "Oh, yay, she's not actually dead," but she's like, "No, you're pretty dead.
No, you're hella dead."
And she even said the same thing that we said, which was, "But I just broke the curse on me."
Yeah,
like I just had this big character moment, and like,
was like,
well, she points out, she's like, "You're a protection witch.
You died protecting."
Yeah, and you died protecting your coven." And she's like, "Yeah,
okay,
all right then. Well, what do? We go for the fucking door." And she's like, "We go through the fucking door." And she's like,
"Go into the
well,
room.
let's go." And there, Alice is fucking dead. Yeah. So in the present, Rio and Agatha are having a chat, and Rio's like, "By the way, we need to figure this Billy Maximoff thing out because let me tell you, there is nothing natural about that boy, and I need to take him with me to where you go, if you know what I mean."
Yeah.
And Agatha's like, "Well, just fucking do it." She's like, "I can't. Like, why do you think I'm talking to you about it?"
If I try to, he'll just slurp into another body, and then we're back to square one.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh,
so you need him to turn himself in."
Yeah, here's an idea. How about I convince him to turn himself in and go willingly, and you leave me the fuck alone forever. And she was like, "All right."
Okay.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
My favorite part of this scene, after they have their chat, Rio walks to the physical backdrop, pulls out her knife, cuts through the canvas, and just steps right through it. By the way,
one thing, we'll explain this here in a minute, or in a bit. I love when shows do this, where there are certain lines of dialogue that in the moment they feel like they mean something else, but then you learn information with the main character and then it entirely changes the meaning, and you realize that what's happening in these episodes, what's happening with the Witch's Road, Agatha knew from the start what was going on, but she didn't tell anyone, including the audience. And that when there's a reveal like that, I'm like, oh, that's really good. Because it turns out, like I was talking a couple of episodes ago about how I didn't think that Agatha had ever been on the Witch's Road, and that she might have just made it up.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not saying that's what happens yet. And when Billy was like, "I don't think you've ever been on the Witch's Road," and she gives this look, she doesn't say anything, she just gives this look, and it's like, I'm just saying that, first of all, the writing is really good.
The writing is fantastic, but also
Katie
Catherine
Hahn,
Hahn
she's so good. So it turns out Jen is still alive.
Yes.
And she leaves, right? With like Calder, like kicks them all out. I think she's with them, right? So she's hanging out with Billy.
And they're kind of freaking out because holy shit, Patty LaPone is dead.
Yeah, but also they continue on the Witch's Road, and they come back to the spot where they all took their shoes off. And like Billy's like, "I guess the Witch's Road
is a circle."
It's a circle, and in the background, Agatha's like, "For fuck's sake." And so they put their shoes back on, right?
Well, first Agatha is like, all right, fuck this. We're going to keep on going.
Yeah.
We're going to go around this thing as many times as it takes until I get my purple back.
Right. And so she's like, we'll just go do all the trials again. And Jen's like, no.
No.
I think doing them once was enough.
Doing it once killed half of us.
Yes. So, no, fuck that. And so I think Billy's the one that gets...
Billy's like, fuck this. We took our shoes off to show respect. I'm putting my shoes back on.
I've had my shoes off this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And my feet are cold.
Yes.
Putting these fucking shoes back on, and it immediately like teleports them
Yep.
to the final trial,
Yep.
which is just a barren room.
It's a bare room. Sort of reminds me of a morgue.
Yeah, I think it is actually supposed to be a morgue because they
pop out their drawers and their inside body bags. They have to unzip, and
there's this like circular array of what we find out later are glow lights, grow lights on the ceiling. And so they're trying to figure out like what the fuck they're doing there, right? And it turns out, and Agatha just briefly forgot to mention this to everyone, she's the reason that Jen lost her powers in Boston. And
just conveniently left that out.
Right. And they figure it out. And I think Billy like talks to her. He's like, you're like, shut the fuck up, you still have your power. And she's like, oh, I do. And she just disappears.
Well, what happens is, like, Jen walks up to Agatha, like, pulls out a strand of her hair, ties her wrists together, and does this ritual of unbinding.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She says, I deny your power over me. You hold nothing. You hold nothing. You hold nothing. And then it works. And she's
she
like,
I like
hey,
how
I got my power back.
She keeps saying that. You hold nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, like it's like
it doesn't work the first time.
It's like she just keeps beating it in until it sticks, right? And then it sticks, and she's like, oh,
I glow in this attractive peach color.
Yeah, and Billy's like, fuck it, get out of here.
And she goes.
Yeah, and like in the moment, that didn't seem strange.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, obviously she got what she wanted.
Yeah.
This is the end of the road. Of course she leaves.
So Agatha and Billy are left. Mm-hmm. And
Agatha's like, sit down, boy.
Yeah.
Like,
we're gonna get you what you want.
She got what she wanted. You're gonna get what you want. Let's find Tommy.
Yeah, he wants his brother back, and they do kind of a forced meditation, and Billy finds a boy somewhere in the world
who is pushed into some water and drowns
and is going to die because of a prank gone wrong.
Yep.
And Agatha's like, there's your fucking body.
Yeah, fucking find Tommy,
shove him in there.
Yep.
And he's like, but like if I do that, I'm killing this boy.
Am I the reason this kid dies?
Yeah. And Agatha's like, eh.
I mean, well, so he does it. He jams Tommy into this drowning child, and then he disappears because he got what he wanted.
Did he actually do it though?
Yeah.
I guess the kid does.
Yeah, kid dies. Billy shoves Tommy's soul or whatever in there, and he poofs.
Yeah, I guess.
Because Agatha is left all alone.
Yeah, I guess.
And she answers Billy's question, no, sometimes
boys just die. Yeah, right. Which was really poignant and kind of sad when she says it. Because
again, Katie Hahn, fantastic actor.
The way she presents it is she's pulling it from this terrible place of experience. And you find out why in the next episode, but you're just like, oh, why does that sound so sad? So I guess what I thought happened was Billy refused, but I guess now that I'm thinking about it, the boy would have died anyway. And it's not like Billy saved him. It's not like he showed up and pulled him out of the water or anything. Yeah. So I guess he probably did just kind of
combined with the way the last episode ends.
Right. Yeah. So he disappears. He's gone.
So Agatha pulls out her mother maiden crone brooch and sort of strokes it a little bit and opens it up, takes out this dark lock of hair, just sort of
which we've seen before, I think. Yeah.
Sort of treasures it a little bit. She looks in there again, and there's this single dandelion seed in there.
Which they made a big deal about how this was this trial was supposed to be
the Green Witch trial.
Yeah, so it had something to do, and that's why the grow lights are there and shit. And
when they did magic shit before, there were little cracks in the floor that
formed. So there's like dirt
down there. Yeah. So Agatha,
and she's also crying.
Yes. So she wets this dandelion tear with one of her tears.
Yes.
plants it, covers it with some dirt.
Which is not an appropriate source of moisture for plants because it's your tears are very salty.
You're thinking way too much about
I know.
this,
I'm
dude.
just, well, it's probably some kind of magic. She probably desalinated it with a spell or something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So she covers it up, but the lights are going out above her, and she's not.
Well, yeah, because the lights are the timer.
Yeah. So she covers it up, and she's like, "Please, just fucking grow, please. I really need to go. I have other things to do."
She's like, "Is this how my life ends? Boy, watching a plant fucking grow? I don't."
What even happens when the lights go out? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, but look, the dandelion grew.
Yeah, I think she started to panic too because, based on what we find out later, Billy leaves, and she's still there, and she's like, I don't know how to get out now. Yeah.
But it grows. It does all. It goes through this extremely fast growing, going back in, turning into little puff seeds. And she's like, okay, I passed the trial. Can I go now? And like the roof starts collapsing on her.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I really need to go like right now.
Yeah.
She runs up the stairs and
the door opens and she comes tumbling out of her basement.
Yes.
Right. Out into the yard.
But things are afoot.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's like every other fucking Marvel show where I love this show, and I thought the last 2 episodes were exemplary, except for these couple of problems I have with it, where the sky is vaguely another color, and it's dark and hazy, and they did it that way to hide some of the visual effects, and it's just like, can we have one of these fights in broad fucking daylight when there's not like, because in WandaVision it was like the sky was red, right?
It's hard to make CG look good.
I know, but can we just maybe spend a little bit more money on the CG so you don't have to do that? I know it's a stupid thing to say to a corporation. I understand.
Please, Mr. Soulless Corporation, can you spend a little bit more money?
Yeah, think about the real people, and then they just laugh. And then go to the bank.
Anyway, so Rio is perched up on the roof and
cackling like a fucking fiend.
She's having the time of her life.
I'm pretty sure Aubrey Plaza may have enjoyed this role more than anyone else did.
Yeah.
And it was in a cast of people that looked like they were all having loads of fun. Yeah. And I like how she just has the gable of the house straddled between her legs, like she's riding it like a fucking horse or something. And she's like, well, now it's time to fucking fight. And she breaks a window and cuts her a bunch with glass.
Yep, so death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, and then she says something, and Agatha remembers that on her way out, her last words were Patty LuPone.
When she calls you a coward, hit the deck.
And then Rio calls her a coward.
And Agatha's like, oh, I'm going to go down.
Yeah, right as Rio like pulls, I guess, the kitchen sink out and throws it at her. And so she gets back up. They're about to fight again, and then like shit just kind of like starts sparking and everything.
And Agatha does not have her power, by the way.
Right? Yeah. So she's like, "Wait, what?
Shit! I was supposed to have some purple. What's going on here?"
And possibly, particularly as a Wiccan fan, one of my favorite hero reveals in the MCU is Joe Locke as Billy Maximoff just fucking floating down in his comic book accurate down to like the fucking everything.
After like blasting Rio to the side.
Yeah. He's like
just shows up.
He's got all of his fucking power and he's ready to fight and everything. And I guess the one difference, and it's a thing that I like a whole bunch, a thing that they change, is that like in the comics he's got a big thick like headband like you'd wear to the gym or something, and in this show
he's got a crown. Yeah,
since they're leaning more into the Wanda thing and everything, he's got a crown that looks a lot like his mom's, and I was like that's a good way to do that actually. And so fucking Billy Maximoff just for a moment and Death face off, right? Yeah. And like he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But I think he realizes that it's going to take 2 witches to maybe not even kill Death, but just to get away, you know?
So he turns to Agatha, says, "Don't take it all," and starts blasting her with the blue.
In an extraordinary moment of trust.
Yeah.
Where...
either trust or incredible stupidity.
Yeah. It's like, based on what you know of her, I don't think I would have done that.
I don't think I would have either.
But she took his power, and he turns a little skeleton-y, but she stops. She doesn't take all of it, which is a big character moment for Agatha, because if she took all of the power of the Scarlet Witch's son, I mean, that would be an extraordinary amount of power, and she doesn't take it. And I was like, you know what, Agatha, good job for personal growth. Yeah. And so they have a little fight. They do laser shooting fists.
So my favorite part of this, by the way, is like Rio blasts Wiccan through a greenhouse, and then like the camera just stays on him for a while as he's kind of getting up and recovering from this, and like you can hear blasting in the background, and Agatha and Death shouting at each other. And it's like, I kind of want to see that fight, but also this is pretty funny, so I'm okay with how things are going.
Yeah, they were pretty pissed at each other. So
Agatha's like, okay, look, we can't actually beat her. Like, she is Death. She is an immortal constant of the universe. Let's try and figure something else out. And Death is like, okay, so I'm a reasonable supernatural being. Let's make a deal. One of you comes with me. The other one is free to go. And Billy is like, I'll go with you. Like, I shouldn't even be here. I died once. Let's fucking do this. And Agatha's like, yeah, okay, he can go with you.
And reveals also that was kind of her plan all along. And then Agatha goes to walk off into the sunset, I guess, and then stops and turns around and walks up to Rio.
Well, because Billy is talking to her telepathically.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He's like, is this how your son died?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of fucked up if you haven't learned from your past.
Right.
And she's like, you know what? I think I want to make out with Death
now. Yeah, so she turns around, grabs her by the face, fucking full tongue. And Aubrey Plaza and Katie Hunt make out on the screen. And I think the MCU's first lesbian kiss.
Probably.
Which is a lot of fun. And it's not like Rise of Skywalker. If you look real close in the background, you see two ladies kissing.
All up in the camera.
It is like a close up, and they are like 3 inches from scissoring. Like like they're like going at it, right?
I really want someone to interview one of them and ask about that, because like they were getting into it.
Yeah. I bet they have fun.
Yeah.
And that's how Agatha fucking dies.
Yeah, she gets covered in some black smoky shit. Like,
yes.
When she was walking off, she was telling Death, hey, put my lawn back together and like plant some azaleas on your way out, would you?
Yeah.
So Agatha falls down to the lawn surface.
Decomposes entirely.
Instantly decomposes into a bunch of mushrooms. And I'm not a florist, but I'm pretty sure those were azaleas.
Probably azaleas. I don't know. Shit like that either.
Yeah. So it's just a little mound of...
I can tell you what lavenders look like because we have some in our front yard.
Oh, okay.
And so, by the way, some of the residents of Westview have noticed that the sky is green and there are laser shooty fists happening. And they're just, these poor fucking people.
Again?
Are just like, oh, Jesus Christ, now what? And it ends, and then Billy walks to his car.
Well, first, Death looks at him with like the lower half of her face being all skeletal.
That's practical, by the way. That was mostly practical. That makeup and shit, it looked really cool.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
She's like, okay, you can go. I got my corpse.
Yeah.
And Billy's like, okay, I'll see
well,
you.
I drove here, so I'm gonna go get my car, which is funny because it's like, bitch, you can fly now. Like, what the fuck? And he goes over to whatever fucking car that is.
Shitty Subaru station wagon or whatever it is, and just
all the residents watching him like, do we die now again? Or I don't understand what's happening. And he drives off and he goes back home. And of course, his parents are like, "You've been gone for 24 fucking hours. What the fuck is going on? You're grounded. And why are you bleeding profusely?"
He's like, "I'm fine. Just let me take a shower and we can talk about this later."
Goes up to his room and a detail starts to emerge that some of us eagle-eyed fans noticed from the start in his room, which is, first of all, a really touching detail. And we talked about this, I think, the last time. Was that after Billy moves into William Kaplan's body, as he grows up, he doesn't replace any of William's stuff. He only adds to it. And standing in his room, he starts to realize that some of the stuff he's added looks pretty familiar.
Yeah.
There is he's got a little doll of the Wicked Witch of the West. He's got a little display with the leaves that were on the Witch's Road.
He's got a landscape painting that looks like the background of the house
the first trial. Right, yeah. All this shit
he's got bronze shoes.
everything from all the tarot cards and everything. And it starts to occur to him that Agatha started saying some really weird shit that he didn't realize the first time. You're just like your mother. You guys have the same tell. Well, what's that? Well, very inconvenient for you. And then he realizes that he invented the whole fucking thing.
Yes. He made the witch's road,
which is hilarious because that is something Wanda would do unknowingly. Like they just have no like this fucking family. Instead of processing stuff normally, they just invent entire realities and they don't understand. I think Wanda like deep down knew about Westview, but Billy wasn't
even aware that he was doing it.
And then you start thinking about it. And we get into this in the next episode. They do the song, and the door doesn't appear. And then the door appears after the Salem 7 start chasing Billy, and he needs a place to escape.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck? This was here the whole time. And you don't put it together. And then that moment where you're like, oh my fucking God. And he gets it. And he turns around.
Well, he hears Agatha laughing.
Yeah, that's right.
And he turns around and is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then that's how the episode ends, right? So Mother Maiden Crone, which is the season finale, we spend a lot of time in the 1750s, which is
Agatha's youth,
right? And we get a little taste of this in WandaVision, right? We see
her killing her coven.
Or her coven killing her, or attempting to, right? And I'm now wondering, I'll have to go check the date on when that happened. Was that the first time that something like that happened?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, 1750, Agatha is a spring chicken. She's quite a bit younger, and she's very pregnant.
Yes. She's kind of running through the woods as best she can. Yeah. Well. Obviously pregnant. Slices
a lemon and puts it in her mouth. I don't know if that's a witch thing or like in the time they maybe they had superstitions about how like it help you in labor.
I don't know. But she turns around and she sees Death just standing on a rock, and she's like, "Fuck you! We're not doing this right now."
The instant denial about what was happening is actually really compelling because she realizes what she's seeing and then she immediately goes into denial mode. Because I think her first thought is, oh, you're here for my kid. And she even like says something about how she created this being without a spell or anything. She just made him from scratch. Right. And,
so she tells Death, if you do this, I will hate you forever.
Which hints, by the way, I'm pretty sure they're already together at this point. And I think even at the end in their duel in the last episode, I'm pretty sure that Rio is still madly in love with her. Yeah. And
why wouldn't she be? Agatha killed so many witches.
Yeah.
Like,
so she tells her like, okay, I don't usually do this,
but I can give you some time.
Yeah, but you know that like one day I'm coming for that kid. And Agatha's like, well, not today.
It's more time than I had, so we'll go with it.
Right.
And Death is like, okay, see you later.
Yeah. So she spends the next like 6 years or so.
Well, Agatha first gives birth, says, hey, I made you from scratch. Yeah. Your name is
Nicholas Scratch. Yeah. And
the next time we see him, she's walking through the woods with her baby and happens upon a circle of witches.
Yeah, a little coven. They're making some food. This fly. Hold on, don't move. I didn't get him. It's my left hand. I'm a little weak with my left hand. I'm actually pretty good at catching flies. If you're listening to this in podcast form,
there it is.
No, I'll get him eventually. Anyway, so
she comes up to the witches, says, "Please, ma'am, may I have some food?" And the lead witch is like, "Yeah, all right, come on in."
Against their initial feeling, by the way, because it looks like they have a protection spell around their camp. And you can tell that their general policy isn't just to let in strange witches.
But they see, she has a baby. They're hungry.
And the reason they don't let strange witches in, because sometimes a strange witch will walk in and kill everyone and take their powers, which is exactly what happens to them.
Agatha's like, damn, this kid makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
We're gonna go a long way together.
People
Nick.
feel so sorry for us.
Mhm.
Which I'm still pretty sure at the end of the story, Agatha is still a shit person in general. Yeah. Yes, a little bit of character growth. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But also, it's like
She kills a lot of people.
we saw what you did.
Yeah.
So she spends the next like 6 years like raising her son, and as he like grows up a little bit, turns out Nick likes to sing, and they make up a little song about the Witch's Road, and it sounds not dissimilar from the version that we know.
It's a major key version,
Right. But it's like it is different enough where you can imagine it. You can imagine
morphing
it
as
is
it gets
evolved,
passed down.
right? Yeah, right, and passed through so many different witches, and they've got a little con set up, which is like they'll have like Nick will sing somewhere and they'll get food, or they'll join a coven of witches, and then he'll like in one scene he steals something and runs off.
Like, hey, give that back. And Agatha's like, oh, well, you know, how about this trade offer? Instead of him giving back your thing, I just kill all of you.
Yeah, you give me all your powers. I think it's hilarious where, like, this is all part of the plan. He runs home with the thing that he stole. And Agatha goes, you shame your mother stealing like that. Oh, my gosh, please come in and we'll take care of this. And the witches are like, can we just have our shit back? She's like, fucking no. Now all your shit belongs to me.
Yeah.
And then she moves on.
Yeah.
And at some point, there's a conversation where Nick, the 6-year-old, goes, Mom, can we stop killing witches? And she's like, no.
Which is such an Agatha thing to say.
She's like, I quite enjoyed doing it,
Yeah,
actually.
I like doing it.
Yeah, it's more than just survival. It's actually kind of fun. And he's like, oh, man. And in this, so I think they had this plan for, like, he sings a song, they get food. And I think he's supposed to, like, get them to trail off or something. And he doesn't. He runs away. Because he doesn't want to keep killing witches. And so, I think it's really funny where like she goes and finds him in the woods, and he's like, we can kill witches tomorrow, but like today, can we like stop, please?
So he had been visibly coughing.
Oh, right, yeah. And like another one of the witches makes a comment about how like frail he looks or whatever. Yeah.
So they lie down and go to sleep, and in the middle of the night, Nick wakes up and sees Rio over there.
Yeah. And Rio's like, don't wake your mom up. She gets real freaky about shit like this.
Cool green torch. She's just like, come here. Let's go, kid. Let's take a walk.
I think it's interesting, too, that he goes with her without a second hesitation. Like, I don't know if he understands what's happening or he's just that tired of killing witches where he's like, oh, you'll be my mom now?
Yeah.
Which is ironic. And he goes off with death and he dies. And Agatha
wakes up,
discovers his body the next morning. Yeah. And it is heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. She buries him and she sings the song about the Witch's Road, which he has been singing, Nick has been singing all along. And some of I guess they have been killing every witch because
a witch happens by and says, hey, I heard you singing. Do you know where the Witch's Road is? Because I have something I really need, and it would be great if you could show me where it is.
So Agatha comes up with this. She's like, oh my God, this is a brilliant idea.
This is perfect, yeah.
Okay.
So
I will show you. I'll show you where to get it.
I need you to make a coven of your best friends.
Get me as many people as you know and bring them to me.
And then let's go out in the woods.
And so
we'll hold hands and sing the song.
So this is her grift, right? And now that we know this from this last episode, going back and watching them trying to summon the door earlier, you're like, oh my God.
Oh my fucking
What
God.
were you going to do?
Yeah.
So her grift is we all sing the song, and when the door doesn't appear because it's not real, she does a roast routine.
You guys all fucking suck. Do you have any magic at all? Like, what the hell?
Her grift is pinned on her ability to piss witches off so much
that they just want to kill her.
They decide to kill her. And
they start blasting her with magic. And she's just like, that's mine now.
Yeah, and then she kills all of them. And it's like, damn, girl, like you put that much faith in your ability to piss people off, and you are very, very good at it.
She does it every time. Like, and we see her like through the ages doing
I
this.
love that, by the way, that little montage
Yeah.
where like she like at some point she's obviously in the 1970s. She's like a biker thing on, and
like she's in the Victorian age.
she always has her Mother Maiden Crone thing on, which I thought was kind of neat. And she just happens through centuries of her just gobbling up people's magic,
just
right?
Tricking witches and killing them.
Yeah.
I think at one point, like, they cut to them summoning the door in episode 2, and like it's extremely obvious that this is what Agatha was trying to do again.
Yeah. And so back in the present, Billy turns around, and it is just ghost fucking Agatha. And she's got comic book accurate white hair, because Agatha Harkness in the comics is an entirely different character, and she's visibly like 90 years old or whatever, but she has like this real white hair, which I thought was kind of neat. And she looks a little bit like Haunted Mansion ghost. It's fine. It's not the best effect I've ever seen, but
like it gets the idea across that she is a spooky ghost.
Yes.
Now.
And I'm pretty sure she's enjoying it.
Yeah.
Where she's like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have been that freaked out about dying, because this is actually kind of neat.
Yeah.
I have not figured out the rules yet, but I'm pretty sure at some point I'll be able to do some pretty spooky shit. Now,
unfortunately, I can't slap you right now, so that kind of sucks.
Now, here's the thing. As you've just figured it out, you are just like your mother, and you invented the whole thing, and you made the Witch's Road real. It never was.
It
never was supposed
before.
to be. Yeah.
It was just a stupid song that I used to con and kill witches.
Yeah. And it dawns on Billy that if he created the Witch's Road, he is, by extension, responsible for the deaths of Alice and Patti LuPone and Sharon, Mrs. Davis, who Agatha goes, who? And it's like, okay. Because I think they do that in the Rule of 3, right?
Yeah.
Where I think this is the third time where she makes this joke, and it's pretty masterfully done. And so he
hops in his car.
He's having a lot of trouble dealing with that, because that moment in the previous episode where Patti LuPone is like I hated y'all, but like now I kind of love you guys. Yeah. Maybe Agatha wasn't a part of that, but the rest of them, and maybe not Sharon because she died pretty quick, they really grew very close. And if they would have survived as a coven, that would have been pretty fucking exemplary, right? They would have been a pretty strong coven. And so obviously Billy feels a great deal of emotion over this, despite the fact that I don't think he's thinking about it the right way.
Probably not.
I guess is like you have to ask the question about whether he actually is responsible for all their deaths.
Well, Agatha makes the point that like literal death was walking along with us, and also the Salem 7, and like you can't take all the credit here. Also, you saved a life.
Also, yeah, and so Jen, like a fucking daisy, just comes right out of the fucking ground
and fucking flies.
Yeah,
off
she's like, "Oh, I have my powers," and
yeah.
she just flies off, right? And we will be seeing her again because it's first of all, it's crazy how this cast had so many standout characters, but I feel like they all kind of are, though, is the thing. But she's one of the characters where I was excited to see all of them do shit. Yeah. But I think if I had to rank the witches, which I don't think I'd ever do, I'd almost certainly put Patti LuPone at first, and I would probably put Jen at second. Okay. Because I really enjoyed her a lot. So yeah, she just fucks off, and I imagine we'll probably be seeing her again.
So Billy climbs in his shitty Subaru station wagon and drives back to Agatha's house and walks past the little mound where she decomposed. Yeah. Goes back down to the basement where Ghost Agatha is like, "Hey kid, what are you doing down here?"
And he's like, I'm about to fuck your shit up.
I'm just going to ignore you for a minute. Yeah. Let me go rifling through your belongings to find this piece of chalk, which he draws a pentagram over on the door, and then grabs a bunch of candles and sets them up.
Black candles.
Yeah.
And then does a little finding spell to find his spell book.
Yep. She's like, "Oh, you doing some analog magic?"
I thought it was interesting when she said that, analog magic, and he's like, "No, I'm not talking to you. We're not friends right now."
Just magically lights all the candles. She's like, "Oh, okay. You learned that trick pretty quick."
He has Agatha's brooch, And Agatha starts to get a bad feeling about this, where she's like, what are you doing? Stop fucking around. And he's like, oh, I'm going to banish the fuck out of you.
Let me just speak some Latin.
And so he's like, excuse me. And he puts down the brooch and he starts speaking Latin. And she goes through these phases of, oh, this isn't going to work, to, oh my God, please don't.
Yeah.
Right. And they have this like argument. She's also able to, like, she figures out how to move matter.
And she grabs the brooch and sort of puts it on.
Well, she slaps it out of his hand first.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck that. Stop doing that. And I think, first of all, what's really touching is Billy does a spell that immortalizes his first coven by etching their names into the floor where that door was.
Yeah, the door no longer exists. It's a plug of concrete, essentially.
With like a stone engraving of the pentagram, I think, and or maybe the door, and with their names. Yeah. And which is really sweet. And I can't remember exactly. They end up reconciling, more or less. And he's like, I guess we're kind of a coven of two. I've done shitty things. You've done shitty things. And the last thing Agatha says is, let's go find fucking Tommy. Yeah. And the door opens.
Walking up the steps.
And they leave. And it's like, oh my God. They found a way to keep Katie Hahn in this, because you know that her ass is showing up as a ghost in everything, right? So like I said, I don't think they do a second. Well, okay, so they
will do something with those two characters again, but it will not be called.
Well, it's going to be Vision Quest, I think, is when they come back. So Vision Quest is supposed to be this, like, the third part of the WandaVision trilogy. Right. Okay. So like it was WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and then Vision Quest is going to be like the end of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that they both will show up in that. Also, is the Scarlet Witch dead? I wish that, because she gets real dicey about that when asked. She's like, yes, but also no. But also I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean it seems like she dies in Multiverse of Madness.
And even if she lives, they've got to figure out a way to undo some of that. The writing in that movie is all over the place, and like they change her motivations so drastically that she's not a good guy anymore. Even though she does the right thing at the end, she's still a real shitty person. She murders those fucking heroes in that one universe terribly. Like, it's really rough.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how they come back from that. But or maybe they'll bring in Wanda from a different universe whose life was a lot like that up until the point where she did all the murders, but she didn't actually do it. Yeah. And I don't know, at the end of this, is it Wanda, Billy and Tommy in different bodies, and then White Vision? And they're like, well, we're all actually here for real. Yeah. So yay. Mission accomplished,
I guess.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure they're doing the Young Avengers thing, almost certainly. Mm-hmm. So now we've got like Billy.
Billy, Tommy, America Chavez, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
They could probably throw another person in there.
Well, if they do Billy Maximoff, they have to do Hulkling. Yeah. Who isn't a Hulk. He's a
Skrull. Yeah,
Skrull, like human hybrid. And then maybe Scar, who is Hulk's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
be pretty cool. All right, cool. Let's
real quick, Penguin.
Yeah, or do we do 2 episodes of Penguin next week? Maybe we just talk about it as a wrap up.
Okay.
Because it's like 5 till. After this, in just a few minutes, we will be pouring a couple drinks, getting a little drunk, and talking about the 8th season of Game of Thrones. And if you're here for the first time,
thrilling conclusion.
Yeah, if you're here for the first time, you're like, wait, Game of Thrones happened like 20 years ago.
I never watched it, and when Daniel said, I'm going to tell you everything about it, I said, okay, but you have to get me liquored up first.
Yeah. Which is funny, because I'm almost positive at some point I'm going to make you watch it anyway. Because there's no way that I'm doing it justice. It's just, a lot of this is just off the top of my head, like trying to figure out what happened or remember what happens. So come and join us for that. It'll be a lot of fun. I've got maps prepared. And it's a controversial, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you know how controversial the last